Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our 2026 Business Personal Property webinar. Our hope is that by the end of this presentation, you'll have a clear understanding of the appraisal district's role in the assessment of your business personal property and the necessary steps for filing a rendition. My name is Joshua Maldonado, and I'm the Director of Commercial and Business Personal Property Appraisal here at Travis Central Appraisal District. And today, I'll be walking you through this presentation. Please use the Q&A feature to submit your questions as they arise throughout this presentation. Our BPP staff is standing by and looking forward to reviewing your submissions, and we'll do our best to address as many of these questions as we can. We look forward to hearing from you. In the first part of our presentation, we will discuss the property tax system. We'll start by reviewing the functions of the appraisal district, taxing units, and tax office. The appraisal district determines market values, sends out notices of appraised value, handles protest, and administers exemption applications, while taxing units set budgets, set tax rates, and determines overall tax burden. The tax office calculates and mails property tax bills and collects property tax payments while also handling vehicle registration, license plates, voter registration, disability placards, and court costs. The property tax calendar. On January 1st, property values are set as if taking a snapshot of your property on that date. Between April 1st and early June, the notices of appraised values are sent out. May 15th, or as stated on the value notice, is the deadline for you to protest your value. On July 25th is the certification of the appraisal roll, and in August and September, the taxing units set their tax rates. Those rates are then sent out in property tax bills beginning in October, and in November, if there are any voter approvals elections, those will occur then. And of course, on January 31st is when property tax payments are due. Now we're going to begin our overview of the rendition. A rendition is a form that may be used by a property owner to report taxable property owned on January 1st to the appraisal district. Both real and personal property may be rendered. The rendition identifies, describes, and gives location of taxable property. For 2026, business owners must submit a rendition of their personal property, or other property owners may choose to submit a rendition. Advantages to submitting a rendition. A property owner who files a rendition is in better position to exercise their rights as a taxpayer. The property owner's correct mailing address is established on record, so taxing units send bills to the appropriate address. The owner's opinion of a property's value is on record with the appraisal district. The chief appraiser must send notice of appraised value if they place a higher value on the property than the value listed on the rendition by the property owner. Deadlines. Rendition statements and property report deadlines depend on property type. The statements and reports must be delivered to the chief appraiser after January 1st and no later than the deadline indicated. On written request by the property owner, the chief appraiser must extend a deadline for filing a rendition statement or property report to May 15th. The chief appraiser may further extend the deadline an additional 15 days upon good cause shown in writing by the property owner. Here are some of our key dates that we'll need to follow through our calendar. April 15th is the deadline to file your rendition or request for an extension. May 15th would be the deadline to file your rendition if you requested an extension. On April 30th, the deadline to file an application for allocation of value and exemption applications such as Freeport goods exemptions, mixed-use vehicle, pollution control, lessor's application for personal use, automobile exemption, as well as many others, which can be found on our website at traviscat.org. To make sure that deadlines are met, you should note that mail or contract delivery service, such as UPS or FedEx, must be postmarked or bear receipt mark on or before the deadline date. Hand deliveries to Travis Cab must be physically received in our office before the close of business, 4:45 p.m., on the deadline. If April 15th or April 30th falls on a weekend or legal holiday, the deadlines are extended to the next regular business day. Effective December 24th, 2025, the USPS changed its postmarking policy to reflect the date mail is first processed by an automated system rather than when it's dropped in a mailbox. This means that mail dropped off, particularly after hours or in blue boxes, may receive a postmark date for the following day or later. Penalties. It's important to note that a penalty of 50% of the total amount of taxes imposed on the property for the tax year of the statement or report could be incurred for filing a false report or a statement, or for altering, destroying, or concealing any record. Let's begin to review the rendition form 50-144. The rendition form is to render tangible personal property used for the production of income that you own or manage and control as a fiduciary on January 1st of this year. This form includes the business name and location, a description of assets, cost and acquisition dates, and opinion of value for business personal property. The appraisal district uses this information to estimate the market value of your business property for annual property tax purposes. Texas requires a business to pay property taxes to each taxing unit based on the market value of the inventory and assets it owns or uses on the production of income, in the production of income. Let's review a few changes that occurred for 2026. So as a result of the passing for HB 9, there's a few changes throughout Form 50-144 that should be noted. In Section 2, property owners will now be required to identify if the property is part of a related business entity. Now, this appears in the form of a box, which you'll see later on in the slideshow. In Section 5, additional checkboxes that indicate whether your total market value is $125,000 or less, and also to certify that your market value is $125,000 or less, have been added. And finally, for 2026, after filing your rendition in 2026, you may not need to file again unless your value exceeds $125,000 or if the chief appraiser requires you to do so. Fixed assets. Fixed assets, also known as used assets, will be filed on Schedule D and E. These are items commonly described as furniture, machinery, signs, some leaseholds like cabling, office equipment, electronics, computer and data equipment, vehicles and trailers, aircraft, watercraft, and every other kind of asset that is held by its owner to be used for the purpose it was created for. For example, a passenger vehicle for transporting employees, or a truck for transporting products, a server for for your office network, or a machine to manufacture a product. Inventory and supplies. Unlike use assets, inventory and supplies are held by commercial or industrial enterprise for consumption and processing or sale. This can include raw materials, goods in process, finished goods, or held for sale, consigned goods, or floor plan goods. All tangible business personal property assets must be reported. That includes capitalized assets, assets that have been fully depreciated on your books, and assets which were expensed rather than capitalized for income tax purposes. Typical computer software installed on a PC is normally considered intangible personal property and not taxable. Exceptions exist, such as software that is vital to the operation of computerized machinery. Let's take a closer look at Form 50-144. In Section 1, this is the Business and Situs Information section. Here, you'll indicate the name and address of the owner of the business assets, the business name, property location address, phone, and ownership type. This could be individual, corporation, partnership, or other. In Section 2, where it identifies representation, you'll select your affiliation with the business. You must indicate if this is related. You must indicate here if this is a related business entity. Refer to page 4 for the definition of secured party or related business entity. If the business has been sold or closed prior to January 1 of 2026, report the new owner's name and address or the date of closure in Section 4 on page 1. If your business has moved, enter that information here. If you moved, please provide the new square footage as well. Apologize, I skipped a slide there. Covering Section 3, if your business personal property assets on January 1, 2026 were exactly the same as those assets contained in the most recent rendition filed, you can choose to comply with the filing requirements by completing Section 3 on page 1. After verifying that the costs pre-printed in Schedule E are correct, check the box in Section 3, enter the prior tax year in the blank, and sign and date your form. Realigning back with the slideshow again, this is the area here where you would indicate if the business has sold or closed prior to January 1. This is Section 4, page 1. Again, if your business has moved, please enter that information here and indicate what that new square footage would be. In Section 5, you'll select all boxes that best describe your market value. If your total market value is $125,000 or less, you can certify this by checking the bottommost box in Section 5. Again, this is part of the new section that we'll see based on House Bill 9 that was passed in 2025. In Section 6, the rendition form must be signed and dated. The signature on this report must be notarized unless the person filing the report is a secured party defined by Tax Code Section 22.01. The property owner and an employee of the property owner, an employee of the property owner on behalf of an affiliated entity of the property owner, or on behalf of a property owner who is rendering tangible personal property with a good faith estimate of not more than $150,000 in total market value. Providing a good faith estimate of market value for personal property is solely for the purpose of complying with the property tax code's requirement to render business personal property. Good faith estimates of market value are inadmissible in any subsequent protest hearing or suit, and the Travis Central Appraisal District is not obligated to accept the market value estimates. Taxpayers with a total market value under $20,000 have the option of completing either Schedule A or Schedules B, C, E, and D. All taxpayers must complete Schedule F if applicable. Schedule A may only be used if the total value of all tangible personal property, including inventory, raw materials, and work in progress supplies, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and vehicles is less than $20,000. Provide an amount for either the good faith estimate of market value or a historical cost when new and year acquired. If you provided a historical cost, when new and a year acquired, you need not provide a good faith estimate of market value. Schedule B, list all taxable inventories by property type. If needed, attach additional sheets or a computer-generated copy listing the information below. If you manage or control property as a fiduciary on January 1st, also list the names and addresses of each property owner. For businesses containing inventory, raw materials, or work in progress materials, complete this section with a brief property description, location of the materials, quantity, and good faith estimate of market value, or historical cost when new. Schedule C. List all supplies by property type. If needed, attach additional sheets or a computer-generated copy listing information below. If you manage or control property as a fiduciary on January 1, also list the names and addresses of each property owner. Every business has general supplies such as pens, paper, business cards, cleaners. This value is typically nominal to the valuation of the business, but it does have some value. So please enter a brief description, property address, if at a different location, quantity if known, and a good faith estimate of the market value. If you do not track your supply costs on a monthly basis, you may report an average by dividing the total supply expense for the previous year by 12. You can also provide an amount for either the good faith estimate of market value or historical cost when new and year acquired if you provided a historical cost when a new year acquired. You need not provide a good faith estimate of market value. In Schedule D, list only vehicles that are licensed in the name of the business as shown on page 1. Vehicles disposed of after January 1st are taxable for the year and must be listed below. If needed, attach additional sheets or a computer-generated listing of the information and report leased vehicles under Schedule F. Leased vehicles must be reported showing the name and address of the owner. Please provide an amount for either the good faith estimate or market value or historical cost when new and year acquired. If you provided a historical cost when new and year acquired, you need not provide a good faith estimate of market value. Under Schedule E, if the original cost was provided on the previous year, those costs are now pre-printed in the historical cost section of Schedule E on the enclosed rendition. If you dispose of any assets prior to January 1, edit the cost in the appropriate column and year where the assets were originally reported. Enter the cost of any assets that were purchased in 2025 at the appropriate column and 2025 acquired year row. The cost of any other assets that may have been transferred in were not previously reported should be entered in the appropriate column and year row. If either a good faith estimate or historical cost is entered in the other column of Schedule E, a description of the asset must be provided. Provide an amount for either the good faith estimate of market value or a historical cost when new and year acquired. If you provided a historical cost when new and year acquired, again, you need not provide a good faith estimate of market value. Schedule F regards property under bailment, lease, and consignment, or other arrangement. Here you'll list the name and address of each owner or taxable property that is in your possession as of January 1 by bailment, lease, consignment, or other arrangement. If needed, you can attach additional sheets or provide a computer-generated copy listing the owner's name, address, and a general description of the property. Rendition submittal. Renditions may be mailed to the address below or delivered to our office. Our mailing address is P.O. Box 141864 in Austin, Texas. That's 78714-1864. Our office location is 850 East Anderson Lane in Austin, Texas. Additionally, you can email Renditions to rendition@tcadcentral.org. If you'd like to file a rendition online, you can also utilize our online portal. There, you'll be prompted to create a new login by using an email address and password. You can find that at traviscad.org/renditions. For rendition questions, please feel free to call 512-834-9317 to speak to a customer service representative or email us at bpp@tcadcentral.org. Additionally, when filing your rendition, please file the original copy with the appraisal district and retain any copies for your own personal records. Large multi-jurisdictional accounts reporting leased equipment or leased vehicles, as well as accounts with large volumes of assets, are encouraged to provide their assets listing via an electronic spreadsheet. Important to note that TCAD cannot confirm receipt of renditions, extension request, or exemptions forms. So if you require confirmation, please choose a submission method that will provide you a delivery confirmation. Now we're going to jump into a few FAQs that we've had from the past few years. And at the end of this, we'll try to address some of the questions that you've been submitting throughout the presentation. So our first FAQ is the information I rendered to TCAD confidential? Yes, information contained in a rendition cannot be disclosed to third parties except in very limited circumstances. In addition, the Texas Property Tax Code specifically provides that any estimate of value you provide is not admissible in proceedings other than a protest to the Appraisal Review Board or court proceedings related to penalties for failure to render. The final value you place on your property is public information, but your rendition is not. How do I determine original cost? To determine original cost, refer to your accounting records, such as original journal entries or account ledgers. Use original purchase documents, such as invoices or purchase orders, to determine the original cost of the asset. Add all costs attributed to getting the asset functioning, such as freight and setup cost. Can I use bookkeeping records in my rendition? Yes. Attach these records to the rendition, sign and date it, then return it to our office. Include asset listings with the date of acquisition and original cost. All assets owned by the business must be rendered. I sold, closed, or moved my business. Will my business personal property taxes be prorated? No. Again, the valuation is a snapshot of January 1st. So if you were in business on January 1, you owe taxes for the year. Can I file a rendition late? Yes. The law provides for an extension of time to file a rendition. In order to receive the extension, you must submit the request to the Travis Central Appraisal District in writing or by email before April 15th, before the April 15th rendition filing deadline. With the receipt of a timely extension request, the rendition filing deadline will be extended to May 15th. Is my business taxable if I operate it from my home? Yes. Once an asset is used in the production of income, its use shifts from personal to business use. This includes personal computers, chairs, desks, and many other things. The inventory in my business is higher on January 1 than any other month of the year. What can I do? Under Section 23.12 of the Texas Property Tax Code, a business owner can have their inventory appraised at its value on September 1 of the prior year, 4 months before the normal January 1 date. The owner must file a request before August 1 of the prior year to qualify. An example would be for tax year 2027, an application would be due no later than August 1st of 2026. If approved, the 2027 rendition would include cost from September 1, 2026 instead of 1/1 of 2026. If I have under $125,000 worth of value, why should I render or be taxed? If the total taxable value of your personal property is $125,000 or less in any one taxing unit, then the properties are exempt in that taxing unit. However, business owners still need to render their property in tax year 2026 to establish a market value at $125,000 and to remain in compliance. After rendering in 2026, you may not need to render again unless the value of your personal property changes to exceed $125,000 or the chief appraiser again requires you to do so. Do I need to file an application to receive the $125,000 exemption? No. An exemption of up to $125,000 will be applied to all business personal property accounts or the aggregate value of accounts that share a common situs. I informed the Secretary of State that I was going out of business. Do I still need to inform the appraisal district? Yes. We do not receive notification from the Secretary of State when a business closes. My notice of appraised value is higher than the amount I rendered. Why is that? While a property owner is required to file a rendition annually with the appraisal district, the CAD is not required to accept the rendition if there are missing assets typically seen in that line of business. We have alternative acceptable valuation methods to establish a market value to the account. I disagree with my property value. Can TCAD adjust my value without me having to protest? No. Once the market value has been set and a notice of appraised value has been generated, the only way TCAD can review accounts is to make potential changes is with an active protest on file for the year in question. That was the last of our FAQs, and the last section that we have for you is essentially a how-to of how to access our rendition public portal. So how do I submit my rendition through the public portal? Well, you'll navigate to traviscad.org/renditions and select the File Now button on the right side of the screen. This will redirect you to the public portal. Below the File Now, you'll find links to instructions for filing and viewing your forms in the public portal. Can I use the public portal to submit other forms? Yes. Once logged in, you can view all forms that are available for submission through the public portal by selecting Online Forms on the left bar. It's important to note that this does not include all forms, but we do have several that are available for you. Resources to help. Late remedies. There are very limited opportunity for hearings before the Appraisal Review Board. To correct an error, that includes clerical errors, multiple appraisals, non-existent properties, or errors in ownership information. To correct a substantial error, one-third the correct appraised value in the case of property does not qualify as the owner's residence homestead under section 11.13. This must be done before taxes become delinquent on February 1st. One of the best resources that you'll find is going to be our website at traviscad.org. Here you'll find a property search, the forms and applications you need for this process, our property owner webinars, as well as frequently asked questions, as well as a customer service chat. Additionally, our staff will be available to answer your rendition questions in the near future, both over the phone and in person. Beginning March 3rd, you can request assistance over the phone by emailing us at bpp@tcatcentral.org. Uh, Let us know if you have any questions through that email chat, or request somebody to reach out to you, and we'll do so. Another opportunity is to visit us in person at our office off of 850 East Anderson Lane. We'll have 4 dates currently that will have essentially an open house. That'll be March 3rd, 5th, 10th, and 12th, where property owners can come in between 9 and 3 p.m. and sit down with an appraiser. Now, we won't be able to fill out the forms for you in these interactions, but if you have questions, we'll be happy to answer those and be happy to help you fill out those forms in any way that we can. So please join us. Now, let's take a look at some of the questions that were submitted throughout the presentation. Let's go over. Okay, so our appraisers have been trying to answer some of your questions throughout the process. Let's go over a few that we have here in the queue that have already been addressed in the chat. Can you still email the PDF renditions in? Yes. You can send those renditions to rendition@tcatcentral.org. Will this slide deck be sent after the webinar concludes? A copy of the presentation will be made available online at traviscat.org /webinars in the next few days. Where can I find the 2026% good depreciation schedule? That schedule should be on our website within the next week. We have that ready to upload, but it has not been put up yet. So if you've been looking for it, we have not put that on the website yet, but it should be there shortly. If the fixed asset or inventory market value is over 125K, will the market value be reduced by 125K? The answer to that is yes. The first 125,000 of your market value will be exempted. Any value over that threshold will be taxed appropriately. Okay, not seeing any more questions coming through the chat. We just want to express our true appreciation for you joining us today. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We have appraisers waiting for you at the bpp@tcatcentral.org email. And again, we will have open office hours starting on March 3rd here at our office building. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for joining us.